Primit Fruchter, known as Fritzi, was born in the small Romanian city of Vișeu de Sus on June 16, 1914. 1 year later, on May 12, 1915, some 65 miles away in the town of Satu Mare, Satmar, Yerachmiel Scharf was born. They grew up in their respective hometowns in the idyllic mountainous Transylvanian region, she in a Višnitz Hasidic community, he in a Hungarian Oberland community. When the Second World War hit, Yerachmiel was drafted into the Hungarian army. Fritzi, along with thousands of others in their communities, was sent to the Auschwitz concentration camp. There she suffered bitterly through starvation and slave labor, 13 months. Thankfully, Fritzi, along with 2 sisters and 3 brothers, survived. Yerachmiel and only one of his brothers, Naphtali, known as Tuti, survived. The rest of their families and almost the entirety of their communities perished. Following the war, they each made their way back to Romania. They married and settled in the town of Satu Mare. A month after their wedding, Fritzi's sister Chevy married Yerachmiel's brother Tuti. Yerachmiel and Fritzi had 2 children, David and Pesia. The 2 Scharf families grew up together and remained extremely close. In 1958, the Scharfs decided to flee the communist Soviet regime and managed to escape to Israel by way of Vienna, Austria, and Naples, Italy. Shortly after their arrival in a transit camp in Tivon, they moved to the town of Bnei Brak. A gold refiner back in Romania, Yerachmiel found work as a painter in Israel. While his wife remained in Israel to care for the children, Yerachmiel moved to Antwerp in 1966 to find work as a gold refiner, where Fritzi would visit him from time to time. Fritzi was a cook by trade, which later inspired her son David to enter the catering industry. In 1969, Yerachmiel moved to the United States, where he reunited with his brother Naphtali, Tuti. 3 years later, his wife and children joined him, and they settled in Brooklyn, New York. In his last years, Yerachmiel was able to enjoy tremendous nachas from his children and grandchildren, and share a life of peace and comfort. Yerachmiel had wished to be buried in Israel. However, he felt he needed to own a plot of land in the Holy Land to be deserving of such an honor. He donated $10,000 to purchase a room in the Satmar Cheder of Hug Chassam Sofer in Petach Tikva, under the auspices of Rabbi Shmaryahu Deutsch, the Rove of Satmar following World War II. Yerachmiel passed away on Beis Nissan and was laid to rest in Petach Tikva. Fritzi remained tremendously close to her brothers and sisters, and they loved sharing in each other's simchas. She was blessed with a long and rich life, filled with naches and joy from her children and grandchildren.
Du weißt, wie alt du bist?
Ja,
Wie alt?
89. Ich weiß alles. Ja, 90, approximativ.
Plus, minus wie viel?
Ja.
Plus, minus 10. Wie jemand machen den 100. Geburtstag?
Keiner.
Was heißt keiner?
Keiner hat das gemacht.
Mit der machen den 100. Geburtstag, eine große Party.
Ihr wollt machen?
Ja?
Hallo, was soll es der Leben?
Sicher ist es erleben.
Nein, nicht sehr.
Nicht, dass ihr wart.
Nein.
On Beis Nissen last year, on the very same date Yerachmiel had passed away, Fritzi passed away. Fritzi was laid to rest alongside her two brothers, Yosef and Yehuda, known as Yidel. Her brother Asher was laid to rest in Jerusalem.
אמא שלך הייתה גדולה מן החיים. אני זוכרת, היא הייתה כל כך מלא אנרגיות, שכאשר הגיע פה ונסענו לנתניה, אז אני כבר התמוטטתי, אז אמרתי, פריציקה, את יותר מדי צעירה בשבילי, כן? ותמיד היה בינינו הבנה והרבה אהבה והרבה כיף. היה אפשר לצחוק ולדבר על כל דבר בעולם, והרבה דברים טובים עשתה.
Hi David, you asked me to tell you a little bit about your parents. The truth is, I don't know how much to tell and what to tell you, but they were part of my life since I remember myself in Romania, spending summers in Satmar, vacations, then coming to the Vishevas. Your father was actually a very intellectual guy, one of the first strong believers in gold. I still remember the 60s when gold costed $50 an ounce, him telling me that currencies have no future, one should always keep gold. And he lived up to it because he really, I think, whatever he had, he always transformed into gold. Your mother was a real survivor. It did not matter if it was Romania or the trip through Vienna, I remember very well on the train, or in Israel itself. She was always fighting circumstances and surviving. I don't know any other woman who could transfer from Israel to New York and manage to adopt herself in Borough Park like a native, to be known by everybody, liked by most people. If she would have been born in another era in New York and grown up there, I'm sure she would have been a big politician. I remember her telling me that she went to a rally of the mayor, the black mayor Diskin or whatever his name was in New York, and she gave him a piece of her mind. I remember a small story of my neighbor, the Superman, flying to Israel, and she came back and says, "You have an Aunt Scharf from New York?" I said, "Yes." She said, "We landed in Zurich unforeseen, and the plane was not moving." And Fritzi got very nervous, so she got up, said she's going to give it to the captain. And she went, and I don't know what she told the captain. A few minutes later, the plane started to go, so she came back, she says, "You see, if you tell them, they listen to you." And I can tell you lots of stories where she just was not afraid of environment, circumstances. And Baruch Hashem, she has gewähnt to very long life. Idel always said, and my father, that it alle überleben. And that's how it was. It's a special brucha. I think it's very nice that you're making an evening with your parents. So may they be a Melis Yosha for everybody. And Yezichron Baruch. And good luck with it. Regards to the whole family.
Your mother loved life. She loved to get dressed, and and it took her to get dressed, to change the clothes at least 10 times still she wore it. But otherwise she was a wonderful person, and she was really good for everybody. She was good. And if she came to visit us, we were very happy that she came, and we had a good time together.
Hi. I wanted to tell you a story about Mrs. Scharf, Aleh Shalom. I was sitting many years ago with David in his office, and we were sitting with a customer there, and the phone rings, and David picks up. It's his mother, and she's screaming frantically, David, the Kamayonin are coming. She was on speaker, and she was going nuts, and David thought, well, this must be one of her times when she's dreaming something, you know. It was when she was pretty old. And so he thought maybe this is one of her stories. And what happened was her daily routine was that she would walk on 13th Avenue. She was walking on 13th Avenue that day, and at the old Lane's Pharmacy on 48th Street, the FBI made a surprise raid, and all these guys stormed the place, these uniformed cops, and they went inside, and it started reminding her of the Altaheim in World War II, you know. So David had to calm her down, but it was a scene. She thought the Kamyonin are coming into Borough Park. She should be a Malitzi Yeshara, and the Shamazal Haben on Aliyah.
My reflections on my aunt and uncle. My uncle Milu was a very, very smart man. He loved learning. And little fact that he was very proficient in Esperanto. He was very proud of that. My Aunt Fritzi, she loved her family, was very proud of it. And she was happiest when she went to Belgium to visit her brothers. We miss both of them. And Bezrat Mashiach, we will all be together.
To my dear friend, David Scharf, and family, including Batya. I knew your father many years ago in Shul. He was a very sharp man. That's why, David, you're a pretty sharp fellow. And your mother was a wonderful friend to me. She always worried about me, and she always wanted me to marry you, Batya, but it didn't work out. I'm sorry. So, just to mention that you come from a wonderful family, and your family is wonderful. Thank you.
I have many, many memories of her, which I can. The time is too short now for this clip. But one last funny story is 2-3 years ago. She must have been 97 or something like that, 98. We went to her to visit her, Chami and myself, and you know that she was suffering at the end, which I call the Holocaust syndrome, which she was always afraid that she's going to run out of money and she won't have what to eat. So she constantly was trying to get money from wherever she could, to raise money, to have reserves. I had to go down with you for 5 minutes, and you told Chami, if my mom asks you for money, please don't give her, she doesn't need anything. We went down to the street for 5 minutes to buy something. By the time we came back, Chami tells me, do you have a few $100 to spare? Because I just bought for $1,000 a chain from Fritzi. She convinced me to buy it from her, and I have only $800 on me. That's Fritzi, the business lady, who succeeded in talking Chami into a sale within less than 30 seconds. As to your dad, I remember him as if I saw him yesterday. He was an amazing man, Milu. A lot of people remember him as being the tough man, the hard man. I remember him as the soft-spoken. And a small story, when I arrived to New York, I was in my early 20s, worked on 6th Avenue, not far from 47th Street. Every once in a while he used to bump into me and really generously offering me money if I need to finance me, to help me in my business, whatever I need. I kept turning him down, but he wouldn't give up. He kept coming back and telling me about the kilos of gold he has on 47th Street, which he could sell, so I could use the money to finance any commodities or anything I wanted to buy. This is a story of more than 30 years ago. He was very generous and always was there to help. He was also the only Kohen I know that instead of getting paid for a Pidyon Ben and getting coins, he ended up giving coins. I recently found back a golden Kruger round that Milu gave me at the Pidyon Ben when he served as the Kohen of Andy. And I just handed it over to Andy a few months ago, still in the original nylon plastic with the handwriting of Milu, where he wishes a big Mazel Tov.
One of my most fond memories of Fritzi Aleha Shalom was on one Pesach when she was in Florida in a hotel and we were in our apartment. She came up to share in Eric's latkes that he had made. She made him feel so important and so great that it stayed with both of them for a long time, and I really appreciate that of her. Every time I went on 13th Avenue, which wasn't that often, she was always there for some reason to greet me, and she was like the mayor of 13th Avenue. And everybody knew her, and everybody always gave her a lot of kavod. She was very young at heart. She always wanted to be with the young people, seeking their approval. Oh, do I look nice? Is my jewelry nice? And she always made us feel very good, and I hope we returned that favor to her. I really appreciate that David did this affair, so that we can give kavod to a wonderful lady who affected many people's lives, and hopefully we should all share in simchas and remember a great lady for who she really was.
So Fritzi, what can I say about Fritzi? How could you possibly fit a person's life, 100 years worth of a person's life, into a few minutes? What are all these bugs there? That's Fritzi in spirit joining us for the video. Fritzi, she filled our lives with laughter and tears of joy. She will definitely be remembered as our Lucille Ball. I don't think I can say that Milu was quite the Ricardo or the Desi Arnaz, but Fritzi was definitely our Lucille Ball. Now, traveling with Fritzi was truly an experience. Let me tell you about the time when she flew to Belgium in 1970 on Pan Am. She was used to flying on Sabina, not on Pan Am. When she boarded that flight, she looked around and she noticed something was different. So she asked the stewardess, "What airline is this?" And the lady responded to her, "This is Pan Am World Airways." She says, "No, I'm not flying. I'm only flying if there are Jewish passengers on the plane." And sure enough, a kerfuffle broke out, and the pilot made an announcement and asked if there was a Jewish passenger on the plane who would be willing to sit to Mrs. Scharf, otherwise she would refuse to fly all the way to Brussels. Then it was the time we flew to Vienna for Mendy and Evi Fruchter's wedding. Boy, did we have fun on that flight. And then there was the time when she was stuck in Geneva on her way to Israel. Also, we heard from eyewitnesses who were on board how much fun they had with her. The fact of the matter remains is, Fritzi meant well. She really did, but the damn thing just never came out right for her. Nonetheless, she enriched our lives with laughter and more laughter and more laughter, and she will truly be remembered by all of us for the laughter and the joy she's provided to us over the years. Oh, by the way, there was also the time when we flew her to Belgium as a surprise for Purim Suda. We hid her for 48 hours, and when she made an appearance at my parents' Suda, dressed as a chassid with a mask and a beard and a hat, my father's oldest brother, Yidel, hit the effing roof when he realized it was her and ran out, to the point where my father had to run after him and beg him to come back. Like I said, she really enriched our lives with laughter and tears of joy, and we will always remember her like this.
Fritzi was the Iron Lady. She was always there whenever somebody needed her. You know, it's written in the Haggadah that Arba Banim, but in the case of the Fruchters, I think it was a mistake, because there were 6, and it wasn't 4 characters, it was actually 5 characters, each one with its own characteristics, and Fritzi was probably the cocktail of all the 5 of them combined.
It was Nathan and Beth's wedding, probably about 23, 24 years ago. And we were in New Jersey at a hotel, and it was right before the Chassan's Tish, and Tante Fritzi asked me to come upstairs with her, that she needed my help. She then proceeded to go into the bathroom, and she was going to change into her dress for the wedding. She walks out of the bathroom, and all she's in is in a bra and a slip. And I'm sitting there saying, oh my God, what on God's name is going on here? And she got into her dress, and she asked me to zip her up. And then we proceeded to go down to the wedding. I walked into Chassan's Tish, a little surprised. And I says, Nathan, you'll never guess what just went on the last few minutes in this hotel room with Tante Fritzi. Hope all is well, and you have such fond memories of Tante Fritzi. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Ruvain. I remember years ago I told David I was going on a flight to Israel. I told him which one it was. And he says to me, Ruvain, switch your flight. He says, Gainish. He says, I'm warning you. He says, my mother is on that flight. Don't go. Well, I was on the flight with my sister, and as we are loading, a lady starts calling security that the man next to her is bothering her, this or that. We found out later that that man was her husband, and that lady was David's mom.
Hi, David and the Scharf family. I know this occasion is bittersweet. It's bitter because it's the Yortzeit of your parents. But on the other hand, the Yortzeit is a very special day when the neshama has an aliyah. It goes up to a much higher place than it's ever been before. Your dad was a big Talmud Chochem. I knew him for many years, being a tenant of your father's brother and your mother's sister, who are my landlords on 47th Street and 8th Avenue. Your mom, she was the queen of 13th Avenue. Everybody on 13th Avenue knew her. She said hello to everyone. She smiled to everyone. You can even hear her from across the street. When she was at Amnon's, you can hear her across the street on the other side. Hello, Mr. Verdiger. That was a famous line. But she was also a client of my father and my brother. She would come up to purchase a ticket to Florida, and it took months. He came 25 times to make sure that it's the right date and it's the right time and it's the right here, and she changed it a few times. But everybody knew her, including Dov Heikind, who she visited every day in the office. May the neshamas have an aliyah, and there should be Melitzi Yeshorim for yourself, your children, your eniklach, and for all her good friends. L'chaim.